Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. 35 years ago today, Dirty Dancing opened nationwide, featuring the Oscar-winning song I've Had the Time of My Life by Bill Medley and Jennifer Warnes. I spoke about it with Medley when he brought the Righteous Brothers to the Birchmere in Virginia in 2017, reflecting on hits like You've Lost That Lovin' Feeling, which a new generation discovered in Top Gun, and Unchained Melody, which a new generation discovered in Ghost.
Hello.
Hi, is this Bill Medley?
This is Bill Medley.
Bill, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Jason. How's everything out there?
Everything's great. Very busy.
Okay. I know that. I know.
What can we expect? If our listeners come out, they love the old Righteous Brothers tunes, what can we expect to hear? All the old favorites?
Yeah, they're going to hear every Righteous Brothers song that Bobby and I had hits with. And, it's a real Righteous Brothers show, and it's all the old songs. And I got a great partner, and boys, he's phenomenal. And we're working in Vegas every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. We do a residency thing here, and it's just been remarkably successful. So, but yeah, we do. I tell the audience we do all the old stuff because there ain't no new stuff.
Hey, man, those old ones keep cycling back into the new stuff anyway. So
yeah,
those songs are timeless. All right, cool. Well, you kind of alluded to it, but I know you're partnering with a new singer, Bucky Hurd, after Bobby Hatfield, your longtime partner, passed away back in 2003.
Yeah.
So, how talented and how much you miss Bobby, but then also what does Bucky bring to the table?
Well, it's like I say on stage, you can't replace Bobby Hatfield. Bobby Hatfield was, truly one of the great singers. He was just a phenomenal singer, and we grew up together. Well, from about 21 on. Until he was 63, we were friends and partners, and so I miss him as much off stage as I do on stage. So there's everything to miss. He was a very, very funny guy, and we just had a lot of fun together on stage and off. And but Bucky, when I sat down with Bucky, and Bucky and I have been friends for 13, 14 years, and I went in to see him, and he was doing a couple of Journey songs, and he just sang them, just, broke me up. Now I said, man, God, this guy can really sing. If you can do Steve Perry, you got a shot at Bobby Hatfield. And So we met, and I had this offer to come to Vegas as the Righteous Brothers. So we met, and because Bucky and I had been friends for quite a while, I knew he was a great guy, and I knew he was a great singer, and that we were going to get along really good off stage and really good on stage. And I told him, I said, you don't have to sound like Bobby. You need to sing like Bobby. You need to hit those notes. And you need to have a good time with me on stage.
Right. Awesome. So when did you guys actually team together and start doing the Vegas residency? How long ago?
It was March of last year.
Okay.
And we went to an area here called Laughlin, which is about an hour and a half away from Las Vegas, to where I told Bucky, I said, we can go there and break the show in. We can go there and die, and nobody will know. and the room seated about 800 people, and so we show up and we were there for 5 nights because I wanted to, break in the show.
Sure.
And I walked in tonight, and I said, well, how's the crowd tonight? My road manager says the whole week is sold out. So we didn't get a chance to walk into this very gently. I mean, we had to walk right into it. But my only 2 questions in my mind was, do people care that there's a Righteous Brothers? And will they accept Bucky? And the first song that Bucky sang by himself, he got a standing ovation. and they just love Bucky. I mean, they just love him, and obviously people care to hear. I don't know if they care about the Righteous Brothers, but I know they care about the music, you know.
They still care about the Righteous Brothers, of course.
Well, I hope. Yeah.
Take me back to, speaking of which, take me back to sort of the beginning. I know you guys started in like 1962 around the LA area, back when it was a group called the Paramours. Take me memories of the Paramours, and tell our audiences sort of how you were able to spin that off into the duo, the Righteous Brothers.
Well, Bobby, we were from Orange County, out there where Disneyland is, California, and Bobby had his little rock and roll group, and I had my rock and roll group. He had a group, the Variations. My group was the Paramours, and we had a mutual friend that had been working a lot in Las Vegas, and he was kind of a little tired of it. He wanted to be with his family, and so he took Bobby and Bobby's drummer, myself, and my guitar player, and put us all together. And I knew about Bobby, because back in those days, 61, 62, there wasn't any white guys, especially in California, kind of doing what we did. So
right.
when we got hooked together, Bobby and I just started doing all this rhythm and blues stuff together, duets, and the people just loved it. And Orange County was at that time was very, very, very white, and but there was a Marine base there, El Toro Marine Base, and a lot of the black Marines heard that there was these two white guys down at the club singing rhythm and blues, so they started coming down, and in those days, if you had a nice car or a coat or whatever, they'd say, "Man, that's a righteous-looking car," which meant good. What a good-looking car. And if they liked you as a friend, they would call you a brother. And so a lot of times when Bobby and I were coming to work, they would say, "Hey, how you doing, righteous brother?" Which meant good friend. And then the owner of a record company, a friend of mine, came in to see us, and I had written the song "Little Latin Loopy Loo," and we were doing it in the club, and he loved it, and so we went in and recorded it, and just because it was just a duet with Bobby and I, we didn't want to be the Paramours, and Bobby said, "Well, why don't we call ourselves, what the Marines have been calling us, the Righteous Brothers," and they put out "Loopy Loo, and man, it just started unfolding from there.
Wow, I never knew that whole backstory with the Marines and the name, and that's fantastic. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's sort of how you built your audience then, sort of through those Marines. That's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so you mentioned that's how you sort of got the eye of the record label. Take me into your first big number one hit. You've Lost That Lovin' Feeling, man. Everyone can still sing that by heart today. Even younger generations know that one. 1964. How'd that one come together? I know it was Phil Spector recording, and then Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil wrote it. If anyone saw the Carole King musical on Broadway, they saw the whole behind the scenes of that writing duo. But man, take me into how that song came about.
Well, Phil Spector knew us from California because Little Latin Loopy Loo and My Babe, Coco Joe, all those songs were like, West Coast hits. and Phil, was out there in Hollywood. And he knew all about us. And he had called our record company, Moonglow, and said he wanted to lease the remainder of our contract, which was about 2 more years left. And they asked us if we wanted to, work with Phil. And we were a little hesitant because he had worked with, mainly girls, Ronettes and Crystals and all that. And so we said, okay, we would like to give that a shot. And so Phil Spector called Barry and Cynthia and said, write the Righteous Brothers a song. I'm going to record them. And they wrote Lovin' Feelin', but they really kind of wrote it as a little more, faster and a little more bubblegum. And so when we sat down with Phil and Barry Mann to learn it, they were singing it way up, kind of high, like "You never close your eyes anymore when I kiss your lips," way up there.
Gotcha.
And I said, I can't hit that high note. You lost that love. I can't get up there. So I said, please, man, tighter pants. And so they lowered it a little bit, and every time they would lower it, they slowed it down, and they literally had to lower it about 4 keys. And by the time we got to C, the key that we did it in, it was slow, and it was "You never close your," it was all a totally different song, and it didn't sound like it was going to be a hit because it sounded like it was on the wrong speed, but I think everything that was wrong with it kind of made it very special. So just one of those records. God bless Barry and Cynthia and Phil Spector.
Absolutely. Do you remember where you were the first time that little song that you thought wouldn't be a hit was suddenly all over the radio? Do you remember the first time you heard it in public?
Yeah, that's really an out-of-body experience when you first hear your record on the radio. And Little Atnoopy Lou was the first one we heard. And I just, we just flipped out. So when we heard Love and Feeling on the radio, it just was amazing because it sounded so great against all the other songs that they were playing,
Yeah, it really stood out, I'm sure. Unique.
Yeah, it stood out. Yeah, very unique.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right, well, maybe hit a couple more. You're My Soul and Inspiration. How'd that one come together?
Soul and Inspiration was supposed to be the follow-up to Love and Feeling. And we were in New York. We just came back from England promoting Love and Feeling, and we were at Barry and Cynthia's house learning Soul and Inspiration, and then Phil Spector and Barry and Cynthia got in some sort of a disagreement, and they sent us back to California to work with some young little girl named Carole King. And
you might have heard of her.
Yeah, she was a young little girl in those days, and so we did. Her and Jerry Goffin wrote the song "Just Once in My Life," and it became a hit. But then the 2 record labels were having a disagreement, and one label is saying, "No, I don't want you to go and record." The other labels, Phil's saying, "No, we got to record." And MGM came up with a good solution. They said, "We'll give you $1 million to come over here, and we will take care of all the legal expense." So we said, "Well, that sounds very good."
Yeah.
So we went over to MGM, and I called Barry and Cynthia. I said, I need that song that you were teaching us." And and Barry said, "Oh, geez, we didn't even finish writing that." I said, please finish writing it and get it to me immediately. So they finished writing it, and we went in, and I produced Soul and Inspiration, and I just copied what I thought Phil would have done with that record because it was kind of a Phil Spector record,
Right.
And it became number 1.
Wow. That's.
But I also produced Unchained Melody, too.
Yeah, that's the next one I was going to ask about. I mean, that to me, everyone, that's the career song, right? That's an amazing song. But a lot of people probably don't know that. I think you guys originally covered it from someone else first, right? But then, of course, yours is the definitive one now, if I must say.
Yeah, well, Roy Hamilton recorded it, and it was probably, it might have even been before rock and roll took off. I don't know, but Unchained Melody was written for a movie way back there called Unchained. It's about a guy that's in a prison. And he's writing a letter to his girl, and I think it was actually an instrumental, and then they wrote some lyrics to it later. And Roy Hamilton and Al Hibbler recorded it, and we fell in love with it. Well, we fell in love with everything that Roy Hamilton did. And so when Bobby and I would record, we couldn't come up with enough duets. So Bobby would do a song by himself, and I would do a song by myself. And I was producing the albums. Phil Spector asked me to produce the albums because he would take too long and spend too much money. So I produced the album. Bobby wanted to do Unchained Melody. I arranged it and produced it, and Phil Spector, I guess, thought it was such a bad record, he put it on the B side of "Hung on You," which was Phil Spector's production, and the disc jockey said, "No, we love Unchained Melody," and bam.
Yeah, I'd say. Yeah, you said it's funny it was written for that other movie, Unchained, because all those years later, it was another movie with Ghost that really repopularized that thing. I mean, it's funny. It's like 30 years after it was originally a pretty big hit for you guys. It became a chart-climbing, massive hit again. Just talk about how much that movie, Ghost, really, surged it all over again.
Well, it's really interesting about movies and or song being in a movie, because now now Unchained Melody is about this guy that passes away,
like eternal love in the afterlife.
Yeah, exactly. And the song was actually written from a guy in prison, but because we had Love and Feeling and Top Gun, and I did the song for Dirty Dancing, Time of My Life.
Yep.
I really feel that Unchained Melody had a lot to do with making Ghost a great movie. I don't think Love and Feeling in Top Gun, turned the corner for that movie. I think it was just a great movie.
It was fun to watch them play that at the piano, though. Tom Cruise, it was fun.
Oh yeah. No, it was great. It's great.
Oh, it's great. But that's cool. I mean, yeah. But you're entirely right. I mean, Ghost. It was a cool idea for a script and all that. But I mean, you're right. That song, and then even like the instrumental version of the song that they have in the score. They kind of allude to that's what makes the movie. It's what makes it.
Yeah, it's real haunting and it's real beautiful, and Bobby sang lead on that one, and boy, it's just the guys that wrote that song, they must have died and went to heaven, because they probably just wrote this cute little song for the movie, and 50 years, 60 years later, it's one of the biggest songs in the world,
It's so funny how that works. Well, you mentioned Time of My Life for Dirty Dancing, another Patrick Swayze movie, by the way. So, yeah, I mean, he owes a lot of his career to you guys, too. Rest in peace. But, yeah, yes. I mean, talk about working with Jennifer Warnes for that one, because you won a Grammy for Time of My Life, but it was also, I mean, talk about another song that the movie would not be the classic it is without you guys.
Well, that song was just placed in the movie right at the right place, and the climax of the movie, and and it was just really special. And actually, Jennifer and I kind of just did the song to work together, because we didn't figure that the movie, a movie called Dirty Dancing, sounded like a bad porno movie back there. and
that putting Baby in a different corner.
In a whole different situation. But they stayed on me and said, Jennifer wants to sing it if she can sing it with you. And so Jennifer and I went into the studio really just to record, to work together, because I was a big fan of hers, and maybe vice versa. And all of a sudden, this little movie that was going to do nothing became one of the biggest movies, probably the biggest movie of the year. And how can you figure any of this stuff? It's a song that I wasn't even wasn't going to do, but we did it, and they put it in the movie, and it was just absolute. They were just, God bless them, they were just certain that Bill Medley should sing this song, and they were relentless. They stayed on me for 3 months, because my wife was expecting our daughter, and I promised her I'd be home for it. They said, has she had the baby yet? And so finally, McKenna, my daughter, was born, and now she's on stage with us. doing Time of My Life with me. She's a great singer.
That's so great.
And so, boy, it's been a hell of a ride, I'll tell you that.
Do you and either you and McKenna or you and Jennifer Warnes, did you ever attempt the big Dirty Dancing lift? You ever tried that?
Oh, God, no. No, thank you. No, thank you. Not even at a young age would I try that.
Oh, that is so funny. Talk about, so how often does she come up on stage with you, your daughter?
Well, in our show, we have 2 horns and 2 girls, and McKenna's one of the girls, and she comes down when I introduce Time of My Life. And we do it, and it's really, great in the show, and it's real fun singing with my daughter.
Talk about a blessing, man, to be able to perform with your daughter. I mean, you're one lucky guy. And I think you've been married to Paula since, what, 1986? What's the key to that? Wow.
Wow, you know what? I don't know, man. I tell you, marriage is a whole career. And my first marriage was about 6 years. My second marriage was a year. My third marriage was 6 months, and my fourth marriage has been like 31 years now.
That's
so
yeah.
I finally got it right. Got the right girl.
Absolutely. And I mean, you mentioned all those different marriages. I'm so glad you finally have closure with her horror with Karen. I know the DNA evidence just came out like last month, and I've read some of your articles on that. But is it you have a little closure now with that? Now that can kind of put that behind you and enjoy your new, the rest of your family life?
Yeah, it's just about now calming down. It kicked up a lot of dust, a lot of dirt when we had to do the press conference and see this guy's picture and Karen's picture. She was such a beautiful, sweet, wonderful lady, and the mother of our son. And so it kicked up a lot of dirt for a couple of weeks, and I tried to stay away from interviews and this and that because it just wasn't letting it go away. But now it's good, and I do Unchained Melody on stage, which is a tribute to Bobby. But I must say, once in a while, not once in a while, almost every time I do it, Karen pops into my head when I'm doing it. So,
oh man!
But I'm good now.
I'm
good now, and I thank God it's done.
I'm so glad you've found peace and closure, and that now you're out there touring, and it's just so great. Thanks so much.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks for staying strong, and I'm glad you were able to bounce back and do the solo career and just find peace and happiness and great family life after that. All the best to you, Bill. It's been. Thank you so much for talking, and we can't wait to see you at the Birchmere. It's an incredible life you've lived. Do you ever look back and say, man, all the things that I've gone through? It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, almost every day. I that's the one thing I wish I could. I told somebody I should just write it on a piece of paper and put it on the mirror so I see it every morning. Do you realize how blessed you are? Because I am.
It's true. Well, we are going to be blessed if we come to the Birchmere to see you and Bucky. Keep the Righteous Brothers going. Hopefully you guys stay righteous for a lot longer. Thanks so much for joining us.
Bless you, man. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you out there.
Okay, man.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Our theme music is Scott Buckley's Clarion. Remember to give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.